Race 2 of the BMW IBSF Women's Skeleton World Cup at a beautiful wintry Salt Lake City. We're at Park City, Utah, high above Salt Lake, at the venue for the 2002 Winter Games. Martin Haven and alongside me, Bree Schaff. We're heading into the second and deciding heat. And Bree, a good close race on our hands.
Oh, this has been so exciting to watch, especially with the surprises here. As we go into the highlights, we've got Elizabeth Fauche, young athlete sitting in third place, just had a gorgeous first run, and she has that kind of composure that's going to help her maintain this spot coming into the second heat. Very talented slider and athlete. And then Elena Nikitina, whose start just dominated that first heat. A start record, the only person that can ever break that record will be Elena on this second heat. It's all a matter of if she can hold it together going down the track and maintain that form and the pressure that a great run like that puts on. And your leader, Tina Hermann from Germany. Just a beautiful run, showing how it is done in Park City, gliding her way down the track. Top speeds, really setting the bar high for this first heat of women's skeleton.
2 years ago, Tina Hermann, the World Cup champion, won 4 of the races in the season. Last year she won 1, but she is leading here. Look how close it is. 800s covering the top 3. Jacqueline Lerner, Lizzie Yarnell, wrong teeth in. They could be in there as well. And look behind. Look how close this is. A 3-way tie for 12th, 15th, a tie for 16th, all super tight. And Ashley Pittaway missing out on a second heat by 1/100th of a second. Janine Flock, 22nd place, doesn't get another run. Last week's winner. Well, the ladies and the men are preparing their sleds for the second heat up in the sun at the top of the track, because after the women complete their second run, the men will go straight onto the ice to finish their second round of the championship as well. Laura Dees showing just how hard it is to walk uphill at 2,200 meters of altitude. It's very cold out, and Jackie Narracott, is she auditioning for the Jam? I don't know, that's quite good. Former winner on this track, Katie Eulender, won back in 2012-13 and in 2006-7. Well, it is a stunning day today, arctically cold and very different ice from what they trained on, and that really put a few cat among the pigeons. Top 20 in the first heat go in reverse order, which means last of the 20, Yulia Kanakina of Russia goes off first. Teammate Renata Kutsitna will be the second. And their teammate, Elena Nikitina, the new start record holder, who also crushed the start in Lake Placid a week ago, she'll go off second last. The first round leader, Tina Hermann, will be the last woman on the ice. So we go 20 down to 1, last to fast, and any other way you like of summing that up. Both runs count, there are no lets, so if you had a good first run, you've got to hold it all together. If you had a bad first run, you've got a chance to improve, and with the field being so close, potentially move up the order. So first sled on the ice, the second heat of the second race of the BMW IBSF Women's Skeleton World Cup is Yulia Kanakina of Russia. And she started 4:91, second fastest starter in the field.
I'll be very curious to see how this run looks in comparison to her first. You have an opportunity in Parc Fermé between the heats to adjust your sled, and chances are she was way too out of control. She might have set a rock too high, which is the bow of the runner that kept her just absolutely all over the place on her first run.
It's a balance you have to strike. The more the contact patch is, the better the control, but there's more drag, more friction, it slows you down. The less the contact patch, the faster it goes, and the more uncontrollable it becomes.
Exactly, you're riding that fine line, just barely balancing on being out of control, and if you lose it, like she did on the first run, that drops you to a place like 20th, despite her amazing start.
Well, the shades are still up. It's a bright, sunny day here on Park City. 122.1, that translates at 76 miles an hour as she comes through, and the run is a 50.79, and that's 0.6 of a second nearly quicker than her first run. Track will be getting a little quicker, but that was a much tidier run.
It was a much better run. You could see her body language was significantly different, but that run would have tied her for 8th place. Obviously irrelevant because the track does change, but you can see this is an opportunity for so many athletes that made a wrong decision for their equipment on the first run, try and gain as many spots as possible. We could see her in the leaders box for a bit.
So there is Yulia Kanakina, the junior world champion, former ballerina. And she goes into the leader's box. Her teammate Renata Kutsina could be the one that bumps her out. Kutsina, new to the World Cup. This is her first full season in the World Cup. And she also has a good start, 4:99, fifth fastest in the field.
Something to note is you saw her hands together on the saddle. A lot of athletes choose to do that because it helps them push the sled and get it out of the hole. Stronger than just one hand on that saddle.
4:95, again, that's a little quicker than her first start. As the sun gets onto the track, it actually speeds it up initially because it was so cold overnight, and it just allows the ice surface to melt a fraction quicker under the runners, and that lubricates your progress.
It does, and depending on what the track has done, chances are they turned off the refrigeration, so that is going to make it quicker. Now, Renata studies at the Institute of Oil and Gas, as I understand it, from her coach, Sergei Chudinov. So a student, there's so many well-rounded athletes in this field. Skeleton athletes themselves are just such fascinating specimens.
1800s up on her teammate. The gap was 1700s at the start, and as she comes to the line, eases away by a fraction, 50.87. So that was actually a slightly slower run. There is Yulia Kanakina. There's Sergei Chudinov in the hat, who's coaching their development squad, and also helping with the development of the women's team. So Renata Kutsina moves into the lead for Russia. Yulia Kanakina in second spot.
And that is a reflection of the combined time. Even though she was slower than Yulia, her first run was much better as she heads into curve 11 and up the straightaway. That's a pretty big skid. You see her foot come out. It's not to protect her from the wall. She's just trying to get the sled back balanced and straight.
Anybody who's surfed or sailed has a good idea perhaps how these things slide. Latvia celebrating its 99th birthday as a nation. And Lelda Pregelena proudly reflecting the small Baltic country here. A tenth of a second in hand over current leader Renata Kutsina from the first heat. Hasn't been here for 3 years.
And she is one of the many athletes we've talked about today that's struggling to come back from a knee injury. That seemed to be the injury du jour over the summer. And man, is that a tough recovery. Ooh, really late into forward. What we're not seeing is that she's going to go up really high and have to battle those pressures, steering very hard.
We talk about pressures in a corner. If you imagine the water in the bottom of the bucket as you swing it around, that's what holds it. Centrifugal force holds it to the bottom of the bucket. And as you corner here, it presses you down and then releases you. And that's what's known as a pressure.
And she's a bit behind the pace, most of that coming from the top, and also the Russians throwing down much better second runs. We're going to see Pregelena probably drop here at least a spot, if not two.
She's only 300s ahead of Kutsina, and she does slip into second spot, only 900s back, so she's ahead of Yulia Kanakina, but Renata Kutsina stays in the leader's box.
We're going to see Lelda continue to fight this season. She's known as a fighter. She has a really positive attitude of this knee injury. Okay, that's curve 6, that's the entry. That's a common first pressure. Now you have the option, you can either steer that really hard and fight it, ooh, and a big skid into curve 7. She's just steering, so when the ice is that smooth and you steer too abrupt, you break yourself into a skid even under that massive G-force.
Next up is Germany's Sophia Griebel, 5th fastest start, so she's got her speed and her power back, but she struggled to control the pace of the sled. Returning to World Cup action in the German team after 18 months off the ice with injury. Coach Dirk Matchens puts the sled down into the grooves. You notice only one runner goes in the groove because skeleton sleds are narrower than bobsleds and the grooves are cut for bobsled.
And you have to be careful is if you put too much pressure on the hand that's on the runner that's not in a groove, it's easy to pop it as she makes her way into curve 10.
5:03 start, so she's just 500ths of a second up.
Going into curve 6 with a beautiful flat line there. Now, here's the problem that you come up against in skeleton. If you steer too hard and have too perfect lines, they can end up slow, but that shows that she's got a very controlled setup right now.
And she's actually got better top speed there than Renata Kutsina, who's our current leader. She's 900s in front, and there's the speed, gives her an extra 10th. She's going away.
Late into 14, we saw some big oscillations as she disappeared under the shades, but she is going to stay ahead of the Russian by 3900ths of a second. That was a great run.
Yeah, she's gone 3800ths faster than her own first heat, so a 50.99. becomes a 50.61. That's much better, and 50.61 would have left her in 6th position in the first heat, and that's kind of where we expect to find her.
Right, but the problem is in this season, she doesn't have room for errors like that. There's that hand on the saddle as she digs it out of the hole there and maintains perfect balance so that she doesn't pop that sled out of the groove. That's a skid going uphill. That also cost her some time, but she maintains quite a large lead on the Russian.
Well, she gets across the line a little wild, but it's Sophia Griebel, and 18 months away from the ice. She's kind of race rusty as well. Next up is Nozomi Komuro of Japan, 19th fastest at the start, drove herself into 16th position, so you can see that it's the ability to drive rather than the start that's got her there.
Nozomi is one of the most experienced athletes in this field. She's been sliding for so long, and she's just had some of the worst luck that I think I've ever seen accumulate in skeleton. Her favorite runners, I understand, did not pass inspection, so she's on runners that she's not used to.
Well, that's like wearing somebody else's shoes. It means that the whole slide is totally different. She's in the red, so she's behind Sophia Griebel. And I think actually that Griebel's second slide is going to vault her up the order a bit. These two were tied to the 100th of a second in the first heat. Nozomi slipping back, 27 hundredths back. And that's going to drop her almost to the tail of the field.
Ooh, a skid going up into curve 15. How close is it going to be? Not close.
Close at all.
Not even.
Half a second back.
Unfortunate drop for Nozomi, but this is a long season, Martin, and they're just looking to make baby steps of progress as they get confident under the new leadership of Kyle Tress. 12
hundredths of a second slower than her first heat. You'd be hard to press to spot it if you didn't have a clock. Still got a smile on her face.
She has great form. That's what you see with experience, but she breaks into a skid because she lost pressure. Your only chance for control in skeleton is steering the G-force, and if you steer too long or too far, you burst that pressure and you risk breaking into a skid as you come into the straightaway.
The strife of an athlete turned coach, especially in the first season, is you want to make the steer for them. Sophia Griebel, the leader, 5 of 20 sleds down. Five sleds down, Sophia Griebel of Germany leading the second race of the BMW IBSF Women's Skeleton World Cup. We're in Park City, Utah. Martin Haven and Bree Schaaf watching the action as Kimberly Bos of the Netherlands heads off from the start block.
Bos having a great line here. She comes into 2 and 3. She has so much room for improvement. She dominated the NAC North American Cup races her first time here last year. This is only her second time on the Park City track, and it's one that really caters to her personality. I was definitely looking for her to be faster on that first run.
Young slider, she really learns tracks quickly as well.
Ooh, she recovered really well. She was about to break into a skid, but you saw her relax. Ooh, hit into curve 12. That's going to cost.
She raced here twice in the North America's Cup in one weekend, claimed gold in both those races, so maybe she's got that comfortable feeling here. She was easing away from Sophia Griebel, and hands on.
50.47, that would have been a top 6 on the first heat. I think we're seeing some faster ice. I would like to credit the boss with a great run, but we are going to see this ice speed up.
Well, again, the ice has changed. It's less frosty, yes. It's quicker again than it was before, so again, you've got to adapt. You've got to really feel in the first corner how much quicker it's going to be.
And it's a constant struggle because your mind wants to understand what's going on. We're coming from curve 11 and 12 here. That's a very common mistake that's built up on the entrance, and it will push you away and make you late into 12.
Hello.
There's a big smile from our leader, Kimberly Bos. And the more experience you've got, the faster, the more intuitive those reactions to different changes are. Can Savannah Grable move up the order? She was in a 3-way tie for 12th place. Just 200ths faster in the first heat than our current leader.
The start is not Grabel's strength, but this is one of the American home tracks, and she has the ability to find time here because she's a very natural slider. Look at her form, look at the energy she's giving on that sled. It's all melted.
Well, she was 400ths quicker on her second start than Kimberly Bos, but still 1800ths behind the Dutch girl from the starting block. So she's got to undo that deficit.
Beautiful flowing lines through the labyrinth. Slight skid going into 11. That's not going to cost her too much time.
Gap is growing though. She's out to 3,800s back.
Ooh, early take on a curve 13. That's going to set you way off rhythm, and she has to hammer the steer into 14 to get back online.
Shades are still down to keep the sun off the track. We've got a lot of racing to go today. And across the line, third fastest, or third place off the fifth fastest run. And a 50.93, only 200ths of a second improvement on her first run. So actually, if the track's quicker, Bree, that wasn't as good as it could have been.
That's a tough run, because something else that's playing behind the scenes here is we're watching curve. I think that's the labyrinth right there, but it can be tough to tell with all these cameras under the shade. So for Savannah, it's not just about this single race, but the overall rank of the U.S. team and trying to earn a third spot at the Olympics.
Yep. It's all teammates together until there's only 2 spots left and 3 of you going for them. Same deal might be the case with Canada. This is Canada's Jane Channel. She's from North Vancouver. We'll go to her home track, Whistler, in a week's time. In fact, everybody's traveling tomorrow. Jane, the silver medalist on this track last time we were here, in this 3-way tie for 12th.
She has a ton of room for improvement. Keep an eye on this start time. She's a fast starter, track athlete from Simon Fraser in BC. Wow, 4:90, that is a great start.
Yeah, the old start record set by Annie O'Shea in 2010 was only 4:94. It's now down to 4:83.
Ooh, late and high on the end of 4, into 5. That's tough to get back. It's going to push her away into 6. Now we see the late oscillation there as it pushes those waves around farther on the corner.
The problem with making a mistake before the labyrinth is it follows you all the way down.
It does, and that's a hit that's going to be tough to recover from. She's really fighting her run now. You can't find your flow when you have that many mistakes. Early into 13.
Punches the wall. She was a quarter second up. She'll be lucky to be in the green at the line. Neat and tidy at the bottom. Chin scraping on the ice at 70 plus miles an hour. 700s back. Well, too many mistakes. She could have survived one of them. She might have survived 2 of them. 3 or 4 though. And that's done. She slips a spot. Kimberly Boss is the leader. Well, breaks the tie at any rate.
Tough run for Jane, and it's common for mistakes to compound like that, especially on this track. So wiping off of a corner like that, she lost pressure, and that's the runners. Instead of being direct and linear in the ice, they're scraping out of the corner. You lose a ton of velocity that way.
And the way the ice gets fired off the wall when you hit it shows you how hard the impact is. I recommend you don't try and do that by kicking the wall. You'll break your toes. So Jane Channel slips 1. Our current leader still Kimberly Boss of the Netherlands, but she was also tied. So Joska now with
5:09 start. It's not her strong point, but she has been sliding a long time. So much experience under her belt. And we were quite surprised by her first run. This could be one of her better finishes if she can maintain. But this is an interesting contrast between her more mechanical effort in skeleton and her teammate, the Kimberly Boss's natural sliding.
Joska on a Bromley sled for the last couple of seasons, sort of rejuvenated her performances.
Beautiful line there, but she's still in the red. Kimberly Boss with a blazing second run. Ooh, she really fought hard to get that pressure in curve 14. Now that looks like a great straightaway, but it's because she has slowed down so much.
And Joska, only the 6th fastest run, so she slips behind her teammate. Kimberly Boss, the leader, with 11 to go. And the next sled only had 600ths of a second advantage over Kimberly. So it is going to be a battle all the way up the order. Bertha Rosenstreich there with the sled, helping out with the Dutch Federation, former bobsled brakewoman.
For Esme Campus, who's been messaging in, enjoying the races from the Netherlands.
Hi, Esme. High line there also for Joska LeConte. Kimberly Boss, the leader, with 11 to come. Jane Channel in 2nd, Sophia Griebel in 3rd place. Now, it was a great first run for Jackie Narracott of Australia. Let's see if she can capitalise on that and aim herself up towards the top 10. 11th after the first heat, start draw number 21. Last World Cup here, she was 21st place.
Great load onto the sled. 5:11 start. Often you can see where an athlete's head is based on their second start relative to their first.
Well, she claimed silver medal here in one of 2 North American Cup appearances on Park City, but this is definitely her best day so far on the track, I would think.
She's looking calm and confident like she did on the first run. If she can nail this labyrinth and then fix the bottom portion, she'll be able to hold that spot, but the boss just laid it down on her second heat.
Yeah, she's riding on a Bobsleigh sled like...
Oh, high on the end of 11.
Ooh, wild.
All right, the question is how far is she going to fall back, and is she going to be able to maintain at least within 2 spots? Really wild lines into 14 as we try and find her in 15 now.
Through the final corner she comes, and only the 8th fastest run, 50.96. So she slips a few spots down the order. 5th place at the moment with 10 to go. Still comfortably outperforms anything that she's done on the Park City track before, but going backwards in the second heat, Bree.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be a great finish for her, but of course you only look to improve. So her form is there. She's very experienced. She just lost control down at the bottom, worse than her first run. That hit going into curve 12 there, that costs you because you hit again the G-force all at once later in the corner.
Well, she was only 500s out of the top 10. That's where her eyes will have been focused. Halfway through the second heat, Kimberly Boss of the Netherlands is our race leader. 10 down, 10 to go. Park City, Utah. Martin Haven and Bree Schaaf watching the action. Top 10 run from Kim Marmont of Belgium in this second women's skeleton race of the season.
All right, a 5:03 start time. Now, her coach, Martin Rettel, was telling me she doesn't train that well, but she's a gamer, and she has a ton of potential on this track. Of course, the slider that came from Germany, starting in luge, that gives her a big advantage. Ooh, a tap going into 6. That hurts.
1400ths of a second up on current leader Kimberly Boss of the Netherlands, 2 of the younger sliders in the field.
She fought well to get that back under control. She's in the green, but that's because she had such an advantage over Kimberly's first run.
Kim Marmont of Belgium, 21 years old. Kimberly Boss, positively elderly of the pair at 24. 700ths of a second in it. This is going to be very close.
Late into 14 there.
800, she creeps away a fraction, just a fraction quicker and at the line. Sneaks in under the wire by 400ths to cement at least a top 10 finish.
Her run is slower than Kimberly Boss, but the combined time kept her ahead, so she keeps her spot. A great finish for Belgium here.
Yeah. Big smile from her.
Collecting some 5s from the crowd. She'll be happy with that. For the small nations that they're trying to qualify for the games, they need these finishes. Now, she was late into that corner. Flopping off isn't bad like that as long as you don't take a hit, but it put her super late into 6.
She raced here in 2016, finished 8th. Can she match that? Her best ever World Cup result is a 6th position. Big smile from the little Belgian. She leads. Next up, a tie for 8th place. Kendall Wessenberg and Katie Eulander, 2 US athletes, both exactly half a second off the lead, and 700ths ahead of our current leader, Kim Marmont of Belgium.
Now, this is going to determine who takes over that USA 1 spot. Kendall, an extremely talented slider, a 5:10 start. That's a little bit slower than her first run. She was a collegiate soccer player, and the trick with soccer is that's endurance speed, and so oftentimes it doesn't give you the explosiveness you need to push in this sport.
1100ths of a second adrift of Kim Marmont, who started 5:03.
But her sliding tendencies, much like Noelle Pike's pace, she melts into that sled. She's such a natural. She has a chance to get that back. 1300ths is doable.
The longer the track, the faster she's going to go. It's a short track here, but she's got speed.
Seeing a lot of skidding.
1100, she's closing the gap.
Oh, that's not going to help either. So just a bit of a wild ride. She's going to drop behind Milemans here. Oh no, she drops 4 places.
Down to 4th spot, 5th fastest run. Again, this middle part of the top 20 is so tight. So many exact dead heat first runs, so many ties, that if you don't improve, you can sink like a stone.
Her form, her shoulders, look, they are just stuck to that sled. That's something that's very rare and hard to maintain control of as you're fighting the mayday, mayday mechanism of the human brain.
Kim Marmons, a Belgian, leading. Kendall Wessenberg slips back down the order. What about Katie Eulander? She was tied for 8th place with her teammate. Will she come out as the top US slider? Formerly twice a winner on this track, 2012-13 most recently, back in 2006-7.
Her first start was a 5:05. She betters that with a 5:03, 200ths faster. Katie is a gamer. She is a fighter like no other, and she doesn't want to finish 8th, Martin. She wants to win every single race that she is in, and that is her battle this season, to come back into her winning form of years past.
She and Noelle Piker's pace were the last 2 American girls to win on this track. Tina Hermann won last time out for Germany.
Ooh, a little bit of a skid, but she gets it back under control into curve 11. She's only 400ths ahead.
This is a whisker-thin advantage.
Oh, but she's having a nice run at the bottom, gaining time. 900ths ahead. Beautiful line into curve 14. If she can nail this straightaway, she has got it. Katie's going to maintain the spot, but the question is, can she climb further as more athletes come down? 2300ths for Eulander to make a statement, second run.
Well, that's a big slide. 50.38 would have left her 100th out of the medals in the first heat. It's that consistency that needs to return as she gets fitter and faster, but that is going a long way towards it.
It is. The track is certainly getting faster, but Katie is showing her experience. She comes from weightlifting as well. Those are those powerful, explosive steps, and Katie knows this track better than anyone. It is a home track as you see her with confidence get that sled back under control.
Well, she and coach Zach Lund both winning on this track back in 2006-7. And an embrace from Kim Marmons as Katie Eulander moves into the leader's box. Next up, Laura Dees from Great Britain. Very good first run from her to leave her in 7th spot, 700ths ahead of Katie Eulander. Can she hold on?
All right, Laura's first run push was a 495. Let's see what she does here.
10th place the last time we were here 2 seasons ago, 494.
Game on, she is ready for it.
So she outstarts Eulander by 900ths. She had 700ths in the back, so that's 1600ths in front as she lies on the sled. All she's got to do now is carry it jealously down to the bottom of the track.
And like you said, you just have to be gentle and gliding, touching the sled down Park City. You do too much work and you slow yourself down. Her form looks great.
Fastest through the speed trap,
wow.
80.7 miles an hour.
Massive lead for Dees here.
3400ths going away from Katie Eulander, a double winner on this track. You can hear her chin all the time on the ice. That's not her toes, that's the chin. 77.8, nearly a mile an hour quicker, and that's a good run from Laura Dees, cements at least a top 7.
Yep, that is the fastest time of the day so far. We're going to see this keep getting quicker and quicker here.
That's a very valid point. 1300ths faster than the first run from anyone.
Okay, you cannot see her eyes. That is called tuck and go. That is confidence in a straightaway and tough to do.
That's why she's got gaffer tape on the chin of the helmet, because it spends most of its time dragging on the ice. 6 sleds remain in a second women's skeleton race of the season. Next up, Mimi Reneva. 900ths of a second in front of Laura Dees, our current race leader from the first heat. What can this Canadian athlete do? Last year, her rookie season in World Cup, she ended up winning in St. Moritz, the greatest of all tracks, by a massive margin.
Mimi is an extremely talented athlete. Of course, I'm a big fan of the athletes that come from rugby because that tells me just how tough you are. And that in combination with her love of yoga is so fascinating that caters to this sport. She's got the flexibility to bring her knees through on the start with the explosive power that comes from rugby.
And the zen from yoga that you need. The moment you stop pushing, you've got to be an entirely different person.
She's 10 hundredths ahead of the pace right now, but it's all, Martin, about being in the moment and being where you're at and flowing with the track, and yoga is certainly going to help that.
She was a mile an hour slower than Laura Dees, and that's coming back to haunt her. Laura was 77.8 at the next speed trap. And let's see, the gap is just starting to open a fraction.
Laura really laid it down on that second run. The question is, how far is Mimi going to drop here? Oh, she cut it back!
Laura
Wow.
Dees thought it was in the bank, and somehow at the bottom of the track, 0.4 of a second quicker than her first heat, Mimi Reniva guarantees herself a top 6.
That is amazing. I love this aspect of racing. When you have a tendency going one way on a run, typically that does not change. And to see her come back, that is talent, Martin. How fun to watch.
Well, Laura Dees closed the gap right down, but Mimi Reniva had just enough despite that skid and tap. Takes the lead.
So she's going to lock down a top 6 finish.
Well, that is great news for her, and it's not over yet. 5 sleds to go, the final fastest 5 from the first heat here in Park City, as Mimi Reniva is our race leader. Next up, Olympic champion Lizzie Arnold, aiming to become the first, well, she will become the first Olympic champion to try and defend her skeleton gold. Can she win it again? 5:02 start.
Right, I remember in 06 it was tough on Tristan Gale, unable to compete in those Olympics and defend her gold from 2002. Yarnold, of course, just a dominant athlete in the sport. She comes from heptathlon. Not a lot of heptathletes in skeleton. Typically they go over to bobsled.
Well, she could perhaps have become a bobsled driver as well, but she chose skeleton and has fared very well at it. 1300s behind, the gap's growing to Mimi Reniva.
All right, she's in the red. The question is, 1700s. I don't think she's going to be able to make this up. There's not enough track here, like on the first run. Not enough track for her to make up in speed.
Drifts along the wall, and that is going to drop her down the order. 4th fastest run, 9th fastest run. She slips down to 4th place. Well, it will be a top 10 finish. All the points are in the bag, but she's very disappointed with that run.
Tough run for Lizzie Arnold. She's one of those athletes that's just a natural-born winner. She may not even actually like skeleton all that much. I think she's admitted that to the media, but whatever she does, she's going to do it well.
What she does love is the competition and her competitors.
Yes, she does. That's a great straightaway, but not enough.
Apart from a rub on the wall. I mean, 2 seasons ago when she and Noelle Piker's Pace were battling, 3 seasons ago, win in and win out. And that was one of the highlights of her sporting career, bar none. Next up, Jacqueline Lurling from Germany, our World Cup champion and our world champion, and still one of the youngest athletes in the field, 22. This girl can only get better with more experience. She could be a massive threat in years to come.
Absolutely, and she is carrying one of the biggest pressures in this year, which is winning the test event. Winning that Pyeongchang race is a large, heavy weight to carry. For a young athlete, big slip at the start there. She recovered very well. That's not going to hurt her too bad. 5:22.
If it didn't sprain her wrist, anyway.
Right, yeah. But I mean, a lot of times you tuck your hands under your saddle, so she'll be able to maintain.
5:22 start, just 100 slower than her first heat.
Not known for her starts, but she is an extremely natural talent on a skeleton sled. Beautiful line coming around curve 6, setting her up well for the labyrinth.
She's almost the classic German starter, a slow burner who doesn't get away like a rocket, but finds speed with every inch of the ice.
Oh, a hit into 13. Or sorry, 12 going in 13. Big skid in 13, but she found time. She's 400s ahead. The question is, this straightaway is going to determine how she does. That hit, no, she's going to drop back here, maybe by 100.
She's opened the gap to 900s.
What?
How does she do it? Fast and loose. Mimi Reniva is eased out of the leader's box. Jens Muller smiles and gives a thumbs up.
That's incredible. So the way you do that, Martin, is you build up your immunity by having a perfect run at the top of the track. By nailing those top curves, that gave her enough velocity to make these hits not hurt her as bad. Is that a patch under her ear there for motion sickness?
It might be. It might be. Oh, misses the handle, gets, and you know, here she's wriggling to get her arm out from under her body.
She takes a hit going into curve 12 there. So what saved her hand under without breaking into a skid?
Look, shamefacedly laughing that she still had the lead after that run. 3 to go. Can Elizabeth Varche get in the medals here? Teammate Jane Channel took silver the last time we were here.
I met Valche's mom yesterday, absolutely lovely, on tour with her because she started sliding at just 14 years old. Rarely do you see that in the sport of skeleton.
4:97 start. She knows that she needs a couple of hundreds at the start, and she's got it. Top three were covered by 0.08 of a second. This is not about learning, this is looking forward.
She is flying here. She dominated the Canadian trials, and she's losing a little bit of time. She had 4900s, but now down. Where is that speed going?
Hang on, she was only 1100s ahead of Lurling, and she was 4900s up at the start. She's going to be in the red. Lurling had an insane bottom part of the track. Valche is going to drop back, and sixth fastest slide.
Now
2 to go.
Laura Dees.
2 to go. Jacqueline Lurling leads. Yesterday, in the four-man season opener, Justin Cripps came from 10th and damn near won it with an insanely loose wild run. Finished up only in the silver position. Oh my goodness.
So those little skids add up down the whole track. And you take a hit like this in the very steep uphill portion, it just continued to bleed time for her, and it took her out of the podium position.
So she slips down the order. It's Jacqueline Lurling, Mimi Reneva, Laura Dees, the top three. Brand new start record this morning from Elena Nikitina, the Olympic bronze medalist from 2014. Eased out the 7-year-old record set by Annie O'Shea. Will she break it again? I think all the money is on yes, she will.
Elena has no shame when it comes to dominating the start. She's about to lay it down again right here. Faster ice. Is this a new track record? No.
Ties the track record, 483.
How boring.
Now, she was only 400s away from victory in the first heat.
Skid there going into 4. She's got a huge lead that's going to help her. Oh, another skid coming down into curve 6. Okay, 7/10 to work with, I assume, is not going to be a problem.
You assume, but think what Lurling did at the bottom.
We cannot make assumptions in this court as she comes down. Nothing horrible going on. Nice line into curve 12. She's going to maintain that lead, though it's dropping. 4900s. Late into curve 14. She's fighting for this.
Oh, can she hold on? Speed is good at the bottom, but Lurling was a mile and a half faster.
She
oh,
does.
2300. She takes the lead away. Jacqueline Lurling is in the medals. Elena Nikitina, her best ever World Cup result came in Pyeongchang, the Olympic test event where she took the silver medal. Could she claim victory here?
She tied Laura Dees for the fastest time of the heat, just showing Laura how much potential she has this season. Incredible athlete, comes from soccer, a super explosive soccer athlete, obviously.
Yeah, soccer's loss was definitely skeleton's gain as far as Russia is concerned. Final slider in this second race of the Women's Skeleton World Cup is the woman who 2 years ago was our World Cup champion, Tina Hermann. She won the last race on this track in the World Cup. The Germans in the yellow jackets will slide next. The men, can Tina start the day for Germany with victory?
Got a 5:09 start. That's 200s faster than her first run. She is a gamer. She is here to win. Ooh, a little bit early on curve 3. She was flying on the bottom on the first run, though, so that's where we're going to see her make up time. She is in the red, but you never count a German out that's in the red, Martin.
Never count a German out.
Ever.
Down the bottom of the track as well. 3500s back. All this is down to the stars, Nikitina.
Beautiful line going into curve 11. It's her form, it's her fluidity. That's what's going to get her ahead here. Does she have enough track to make it back? 2300.
Here we go, 2300.
Ooh, late into 14. That's going to hurt. This straightaway determines it all.
Oh, she's clean on the straight, down to 1400s of a second. It's going to be very close. But Nikitina wins by 200s of a second. Her only other World Cup victory came in January 2013 in Innsbruck in Austria. Another short track where the start is everything. And a 483 compared to the 509 of Tina Hermann gave her the extra 100 she needed. Elena Nikitina, after nearly 4 calendar years, has claimed a second World Cup win.
We have 6 countries in the top 7 of this race. That just shows what an even playing field we had here today.
Wow.
But we're talking about over a second that Tina was going to have to overcome in that start deficit to Elena. And this is just not long enough track to do that. This is a track where pushers win.
Well, Nikitina, despite those electrifying starts, 400s behind in the first heat, came back to win it by 200ths of a second. And that is the nature of this track. And that's what Nikitina has in her locker. But it's been a long time, a long drought since Eagles 2013, and somehow she kept the speed on board. It was a good-looking slide. She made mistakes that others made. Claimed victory here in Park City. Well, Bree, you know, that just, it's now she's not a one-hit wonder. Now she's done it again, and she came so close in Pyeongchang as well. So she does throw her name into the hat as a potential medalist now wherever we go.
Yeah, I mean, when you take a start like that and then mature as an athlete, you become a threat everywhere you go. The same as Tretyakov. You know, he was only Eagles in Park City that he was winning early on.
Yulia Konakina, 1.6 seconds back in 20th place, the second fastest starter, as our fastest starter wins it. Wow. So the Russians bookending the top 20 with the fastest 2 starters in the business. And we saw this over the last decade and more from Alexander Tretyakov. When he came in, he could start like nobody could believe, but he hit everything on the way down. And the fewer things he hit, the further up the finishing order he went, until he became a race winner, a world champion, an Olympic champion. And Elena Nikitina, if she can keep this ability to handle the pace, she's going to be super dangerous to anybody.
You know, momentum is such an important factor in this season, and confidence, honest to goodness, can drive 50% of a run. When you feel good, you put that into your sled, and it shows on the ice.
And having those starts, you know that you can handle anybody in the start. That's half the game, especially on a track like this. And Pyeongchang is a bit more of a driver's track perhaps, but certainly the start is going to be very influential. And of course, everybody's focus this year, gaining points now, yes, but it's all about February in South Korea. It's all about the 5 rings, and it's all about that elusive gold medal. Well, the Women's Skeleton Olympics have produced 4 different champions from 3 different countries. Tristan Gale, Maya Pedersen, and then Amy Williams. And finally, the most recent of them, Lizzie Yarnold. And 2 of those champions competing here today, the 2nd and the 4th Olympic champion, the reigning and the 2006 champion. We may have an entirely different Olympic champion in the field today. We're going to have to wait until February to find out if that is indeed the case. Oh, a fantastically tense race on a beautifully crisp winter day here in Park City. What a result. Second race of the Women's World Cup in skeleton, and Elena Nikitina, with victory here in Park City, takes the lead from Elizabeth Varche and Laura Dees. Our first race winner, Janine Flock, didn't make the cut here in Park City, so the Lake Placid victor drops to 10th place in the overall standings. When we go to Whistler next week, for the first time in her life, Elena Nikitina will wear the yellow jersey of the World Cup points leader. And Bree Schaff, this is why a great start and a great run.
Oh, this was beautiful start to finish. When you dominate like that, the risk is buying too much into your start, but she's gaining so much confidence down the track that's just going to build across this season.
Well, her head's a little bit up. She's still fairly unfamiliar with this Park City track, certainly compared to European tracks, but she had enough in the bank to turn a 400ths deficit into a 200ths of a second lead. Germany in 2nd and 3rd. Last time's winner Tina Hermann on the left. She takes the silver. Bronze medal goes to Jacqueline Lurling. Janine Flock, who took the bronze 2 years ago when we raced here last, didn't make the cut. Jane Channel, who took the silver, finished in 11th place. So Tina Herman of last time's podium did the best with the silver medal position. And Yelena Nikitina, a second career women's skeleton win, nearly 4 years after the first. I'm sensing we may not have to wait quite so long for the next. Well, that's it for the women from Park City, Utah. Stay with us, we've got lots more action to come. Men's skeleton deciding heat next up on the ice.